You already know what time it is. It's your boy DJ RichieSkye back with some tea, interviews, recaps, and more. And be sure to check the links in the description of this video for trips, for books, one-on-one sessions, and more. Now let's get into the tea. What is going on, Sky Squad? We are back in the building. I'm so glad I got this mic, y'all. I don't feel like I'm yelling into the screen anymore. I feel like I'm back on radio. This is so nice, right? Don't my voice just sound like lovely? I mean, I don't know how it sounds, but it just feels better, okay? If you are new here, we are going to be talking about Married to Medicine. We are talking season, what is this, season 11? I think it's season 11. Episode 2 of the reunion. All right. I'm gonna give you guys the broad strokes. Recapping a reunion is always a little bit difficult because I mean there's always so much going on and there's so many topics to discuss that I just kind of feel like trying to go like line by line is always a difficult thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down the highlights and like I like to say, the lowlights. All right. So we're going to get into it. But first things first, before yesterday's reunion aired, we saw that Sweet Tea did an interview, sort of quasi cooking session with Dr. Simone. Okay. And I watched the entire thing today because I wanted to have some context for anything that we may discuss that occurred last night. And I don't think we got anything in terms of context from last night as much as I felt like this played like a scene that probably should have aired during the season. Because I feel like what they did here was, if you watch the entire clip, if you saw just the teaser, where they do speak on Quad and Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Simone says, we don't have time to be propped up on YouTube. She basically is like, I spend a lot of time with my husband. You know, I'm working. I don't have a lot of time to be, I guess, you know, on YouTube like that. Which is ironic because she's actually on YouTube, on a YouTube channel right here. But I think what she's trying to say, like all the time, right? Like, I don't have time to be doing this all the time. And I guess that's a reference to Dr. Heavenly going live. But I don't know why people say stuff like that because YouTube is a great revenue generator. I always tell you guys, I feel like everybody should have a YouTube channel. So for me, I feel like Dr. Heavenly is doing what she's supposed to do. Whether you like what she is saying or not, I think that she's taking the smart play. Similar to a Candy, I don't understand why more people don't have YouTube channels. It helps you get your point across. It's an extra way to drive revenue. It helps tell your story in a way that it's unobstructed by what the network chooses to air because they only have 42 minutes in an episode. So I think that this is a smart thing to do that Dr. Heavenly is doing, that Sweet Tea is doing, that Shamia is doing, that Candy does, you know, that anybody does. Nene, I don't know if she's come out with another episode of her podcast, but you can just see where these things can take you when you get onto this platform. It creates opportunities. It is a way for people to take the narrative into their own hands. The next thing that they said, well, one of the things that Sweet Tea says was she made a joke about, you know, just working and outside of the show. And, you know, she throws in a quip about being able to pay for Quad's house because that tends to come up a lot. Then Dr. Simone says, well, who's going to help Quad pay off her house? So I said, ooh, wee. I feel like this is setting the stage for next season. I do feel like it does even the playing field a bit, even though if you watch the entire interview, I did feel like they had some interesting discussions where they did not agree on a lot of different things. And I thought that that was a very real conversation. I still, in some way, shape, or form, feel like Simone didn't really hear her in terms of the things that she was trying to express to Simone. I felt like Dr. Simone downplayed a lot of, what Sweet Tea was feeling in the actual conversation, but at least they were able to have the conversation to varying degrees of success. And they seem like they're okay. But then the question becomes, is Dr. Simone there because she really just doesn't like Quad? That's the question that I feel like has to be asked. Because based on this episode, we will see that Dr. Simone, as I stated before, just doesn't like the girl. Okay, she just doesn't like Quad. I don't know what it is. My general sense, a part of it feels to me like, based on what we saw last night, is that she feels like Quad is only around the ladies for the cameras. Like, she's not really their friend. That is what I think that Dr. Simone feels. That's just the general sense that I get, because you hear her at the end. It's, although she's very hoarse, I had to play it several times. You hear her screaming at Quad at the end when they're having their argument, that because they're yelling about something. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later, but the thing that Simone yells out is that, you gave us your butt to kiss, so we hung out with Dr. G when you weren't around. You weren't around for filming, so we can hang out with who we want to hang out with. Which is technically true, right? They had kicked Quad to the curb, so it was like, I mean, we got free reign to do what we want to do. Because Quad said y'all had no business inviting these people around. Y'all used these people to bring them around to get to meet. And Simone says to her, well, no, I mean, this is your karma. You gave us your butt to kiss, and so we hung out with Dr. G and Sweet Tea. And at that point, Quad says, well, I was the one who was helping you find your dad, or whatever like that, right? Well, she says your mother effing dad. I mean, and I don't know what the situation with Dr. Simone's dad is now. I don't recall what happened with that, and even though I have been reviewing this show for a very long time, so I just don't remember. But now, I apologize to you guys in advance for that. But for me, I just kind of feel like, this takes me back to last reunion with, Dr. Simone bringing up an example that Quad didn't like, that I also felt like was not necessary, right? But again, this is an instance where two people, both Quad and Simone, are trying to make their points, and they're using examples, real life examples, for those events. Although in this situation, the example that Quad is using was apparently something that may be aired. And Dr. Simone responds and says, you only did that because the cameras were around. You only do things because the cameras are around. And I think that there is some deeper level of friction that is going on between these two ladies that is really remaining to be unspoken. And I would just like for them to address the elephant in the room. Quad seems a little bit less in tune with what that is for Simone. And I feel like Dr. Simone, I don't think she has really given us a concrete thing of what it is that she just does not like with Quad. But I think that first she would have to admit that she just does not like her. I think that's the first step. Admit it to us. Maybe she's already admitted it to herself, but admit it to me. Admit it to me, because I'm the one who is affected. We are the people who are affected. We are the ones who want to know, right? And maybe it would also help if Quad just knew that, right? Because to a certain degree, I kind of feel like there has been this element of Quad that has been also trying and struggling to have some level of, I don't want to say validation from Dr. Simone, but just a validation of that they're really friends and that they are moving forward. And maybe they just can't move forward because they will never be friends. And that is a thing too. All right, so their altercation goes all the way left. I think at one point Quad calls her a dirty B, B-I-T-C-H. And it's so funny to me because what you will see is even in Sweet Tea's cooking session with Dr. Simone wants Sweet Tea to own some of her out of control behavior, which I'm assuming now they're referring to the beach brawl, aka pillow talk party on the beach, wherein King and Dr. G and Dr. Heavenly and Sweet Tea and Sharon gets into it with Phaedra and all of that, right? But at the end of the episode, you see Quad and Dr. Simone about to go ham on each other, need to be pulled away by security. So many times on this show, you've had instances at the reunion. You've had all of these instances where people are lunging at each other. I just never can understand what it is. They never show us what it is that Sweet Tea has done to be such labeled as such a Tasmanian devil. I never see it. It's almost like, as Simone tells her in the cooking session, well, I'm trying to help you prevent to not do some of the mistakes that I have made, but you still keep making those mistakes. So why is it okay for y'all to go off on each other and throw yourselves at each other, lunge at each other, be pulled away by security, but the new person can't do it? It's just weird to me. It's just weird. Because if everybody's having those moments, let everybody have those moments and keep it pushing. That's just the nature of the show. It is what it is. Like, I don't get it. Um, I need to state this about Dr. Jackie because I just feel like, there's a question that comes up about the situation that occurred between Sweet Tea and Dr. Heavenly. And listen, Sweet Tea, Dr. Heavenly have gone blow for blow. And I don't mind when it's just the two of them going at each other because I do feel like if it's one on one, cool. I don't like the parroting that happens when someone I feel like I didn't like that Dr. Heavenly was parroting Quad or chiming in so much when Quad is going at it with Sweet Tea. Let them go at it one on one. I don't understand why they're going at it about anything because for me, to be honest with somebody else who is with an ex of mine, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Okay. I've said this before. I understand it. And some people didn't get it when I said it last time. One person's trash is the next person's treasure. That is really about a mentality, how you view a person. Not to say that your ex is trash, but you may view them as trash. You may view them as something that you have discarded. You may view them as something either bad or good, depending on how you view the relationship. But to someone else, they may be a treasure. So, girl, enjoy your treasure while you enjoy your new treasure. I just don't understand, and I get that there is still some deep-seated issues between Quad and Dr. G, and I do understand Quad not having a desire to be around them. But here we all are. Everybody has signed up to do this show. So, Sweetie and Dr. G, Quad and King, y'all just have to learn to maneuver around each other. Take, for instance, as I was about to make my point, Dr. Jackie. Dr. Jackie is able to swerve around everybody that she don't like. And how does she do this? She just doesn't say anything. She doesn't get engaged. I.e., when Andy asked a question about Dr. Heavenly, making fun of Sweet Tea's infertility issues, she says, I didn't want to get any of that on me. You're on this show too. You are on this show too. You're on this show too. And granted, it's not your battle to fight. That is just an example of what I mean by it feels like Dr. Jackie is just someone who is there like a painting on the wall, beautiful, but you're serving no purpose if you're not actively engaged with what is happening with the group. So I just think that if you're going to stay on the show, then you need to get involved. Get involved, have an opinion, have a say. I'm not saying that you have to become anyone's parrot, But I am saying that you need to like just crying over in the background is not making the scene pop. You know what I'm saying? I much prefer the unpredictability yet predictability of Dr. Simone, right? Unpredictable in the sense that I don't ever know when she's going to like swerve a certain type of way, but you know she's going to swerve. You know she's going to swerve. At some point in time, she's going to swerve and she going to get to yelling. So, and I feel like at least with Dr. Simone, she's in it, right? She is in the thick of it. Everybody else is at least in the thick of it, and Dr. Jackie feels just somewhat detached. And so I just think that if you're not going to engage, and you just want to give us those little medical moments here and there, then maybe you should be sitting where Dr. Contessa is sitting, and maybe Dr. Contessa should be sitting where you're sitting, because at least Dr. Contessa is engaged and involved. Because I just felt like Dr. Jackie has no interest in getting her hands in the mess, right? And not that she needs to be messy, but speak up when it's time to speak up, or like get involved. I feel like, and I just feel like she takes a background approach to everything. I mean, Dr. Contessa and Dr. Heavenly, they have their moments. I did like to see Dr. Heavenly and Sweet Tea kind of like at least get to a safe space. I thought that was nice. Um, there was a moment where I felt like there was something that Quad said about Sweet Tea and her not being able to have a baby or not having had a baby yet. I felt like that was low. Because both of these women are working on their fertility journey. So it's like that's just a place that I just feel like I wouldn't go. Um Dr. Contessa and Dr. Heavenly and the stuff with Dr. Damon. It's funny because the stuff with Dr. Damon does come up again during the men's segment. I told you guys how I felt about that sort of thing. I mean, if you're not gonna bring any proof to the table, then I feel like just leave it alone. Like I'm tired of hearing about it because it's just the story is old. But speaking of Dr. Damon, I personally don't like the stance he tends to take with Dr. G. I don't think that Dr. G is always right, but I do think that Dr. Damon has a hard time showing empathy, and he demands a level of respect that he is not willing to give. And I don't know that this has anything to do with Dr. Heavenly or him standing up to her, because I feel like I see a lot of that in the comments where people feel like he's afraid of her or this, that, and the third. I mean, I think to some degree, everybody has a healthy respect for their spouse. And so as you should. But I think in terms of their friendship with his friendship with Dr. G, I just don't feel like I don't even feel like most of the men even really care for him, Dr. G. I feel like they were all with it last season when it was going to be a situation where, oh, we get to invite them back in, we get to invite them into the group. And now that everybody's sort of I feel like this season, everybody sort of had a change of heart about it. And they're just kind of like, we kind of want to distance ourselves from you. The only person that I felt like had the balls to speak up was Cecil. I felt like Cecil was the only person that really kind of was able to put it to Dr. Damon in a way that made sense. Even Andy tried to tell him, like, Dr. Heavenly, though she apologized, did call Dr. G a Pedialyte, right? So it's like, even then, Dr. Damon's like, well, but he was so quick to say that nothing anybody said about him, medical, like in the as a professional, would ever bother him. But what does bother him is when someone questions his character in terms of his relationship. So if you understand that, then you should also understand someone questioning your character as a medical professional. And then why would you think that if someone that you know is questioning my character as a medical professional, I don't have to send you nothing. I don't have to take your patients. I don't have to do business with you. You clearly don't have no respect for me. You don't clearly don't have any respect for my profession, but you want me to take what you giving you. No, it don't have to work like that. That's his business. He can do what he want to do. And he don't have to answer to you. Just like if you say that you're a man and you feel like this about him, he can feel any type of way about you. He don't have to take your patience, and it could be what he wants it to be. That's it. That's how business works. You can't take that business element personally. Find somebody else who does what he does and send them there. Like you can't. I mean, if this is a part of your business and somebody is not following what the protocol is typically, then in business we find somebody else that can do it, and that's just what it is. I mean, that's the reality of business. Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, that's the reality. So my thing with Dr. Damon is I just feel like you need to just have the same level of respect that you want him to have for you. You got to have that same level of respect for him. And I did like that they were able to kind of come together on that in the end, right? Um, and in those moments, I feel like that's when I respect Dr. Damon the most is when he can say, you know what, I will listen to reason because the guys are having to like instruct him on it. But outside of the instruction, his take on it just feels a little bit, it just feels a little bit off. Um, I don't always understand everything that Dr. Damon says or does. I mean, Dr. G says or does, because I do sometimes at times I do think that he puts his foot in his mouth. Um, that's just the case. I mean, if we go back to the argument that happened on the beach between the men, if he had never said that he told Quad to that she had a big mouth, like, I just wouldn't have said it at that point in time. It's like, I've already said it. You missed it. Oh, well, it'll play again, and then you could be mad. But, like, it's just like if the situation has died down, like, why repeat that? Like, it wasn't even necessary. That's just in my opinion, right? And some of y'all may be like, well, he said it, he should stand on it. Well, that's true, but if you don't want no smoke, then just shut your mouth. I mean, I'm just talking real life, like just real talk. Shut up. If you don't want to hear about it, if you don't want no smoke, stop talking. That's real. That's real. If you ain't about it, stop talking. Period. Um, I don't really have much to say about King. I do think that when he speaks, and he's intentional with his words, I feel like he makes a lot of sense a lot of times. I don't necessarily know that he has any beef with Dr. G. I don't really think that they should have any beef with each other. I think that Dr. G and has unresolved issues with Quad. I think that Quad still has unresolved issues with Dr. G. And I think that they both have some level of PTSD from the things that happened in their relationship. But the beauty of that is this: you're not in those relationships anymore. So, to a certain degree, you got to let that hurt go. I mean, it just has to happen, whether you are on the same show or not, because if you don't let that hurt go, it's still going to happen. It's still going to come up in your relationship in some way, shape, or form. It's just going to be buried deep down until it manages to come up to the surface, and you're going to make some of the same mistakes all over again. And that's just real talk. That's just real life. So I'm not saying you need to. I'm not saying y'all need therapy in it together. I'm saying that y'all probably need to figure out a way separately to manage and mitigate those issues so that they don't affect your current relationships. Again, that's just real talk. That's what, as a friend, I would tell them. That's just real. Um, those to me were my highlights and lowlights. I'm interested to see how things are going to play out with Dr. Simone and Quad as we move into the next season. I want to know if Dr. Mimi will be back. She made her appearance at the reunion, and I think she gave a good performance. I think she did well. Um, she's fresh. It'll be interesting to see what happens next season because we know when someone comes in fresh, usually on a first season, everybody is given grace. Usually, right? But then that second season is where they're required to get into the mess. Unless your name is Dr. Jackie, in which case you can keep yourself clean. All right. So let me know what you guys think about this episode of Married to Medicine. It was interesting. It was very interesting. It was very interesting. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell button, and I will catch you, of course, in the next video.